The Kings have unexpectedly began to, engage in talks to potentially trade De'Aaron Fox. See, this is why I have no problem with fans celebrating that first Beam season at all, like the way they did, because they knew better than any of us that eventually the Kings were going to become the Kings again. Amid a 5-game winning streak, the Raptors are reportedly interested in bringing in a big piece. Do you know what would be a really good big piece to bring in for this supposedly rebuilding team? Isaiah Stewart was ejected from Detroit's loss to Indiana after blatantly shoving Thomas Bryant to the ground. Stop trying to make 2005 happen, Isaiah. It's not going to happen. LaMelo Ball will be reevaluated in 1 week due to a left ankle sprain. And I know that sucks for Hornets fans, but I've seen this story before. And if history is any indication, it means that the Hornets, by the end of this decade, will be the NBA's next dynasty. The Sixers won 4 straight. Wow, maybe if they could just get healthy and just go on a run, they could sneak into the playoffs. And then once they sneak into the playoffs, who knows? That's not gonna be a team you're gonna want to face. So who really knows what can happen? Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen either. In 2 losses to the Knicks this season, Nikola Jokic has compiled just 39 points, 13 rebounds, and 13 assists, which doesn't sound that bad until you remember the times that he's put that up in just 3 quarters. In a post-game interview after beating the Bulls, Kristaps Porzingis said, quote, "Some games they just completely take away, for example, my 3, and then every basket I have to earn with meat. Coincidentally, earn with meat is how Will Ferrell was able to get 2 Italians to play for his son's soccer team." Wemby charged at Ivica Zubac after Zubac shoved him to the ground. It was revealed that Zubac, who had 21 points and 22 rebounds in the win for the Clippers, shoved Wemby while screaming, quote, "You had the last 5 years, these next 5 years are mine." PJ Washington had 25 points, 14 rebounds, and 8 assists in a win over New Orleans. And New Orleans is actually pretty close to Oklahoma City, so that checks out. Jaden McDaniels was ejected from Minnesota's win over Phoenix after poking Devin Booker in the side of the head. Back in my day, you could give a guy a wet willy and still last the entire rest of the game. Okay, so Warriors front office logic is that they're not going to make a trade because they're not good enough to the point where going all in is worth mortgaging their future. But then they're also not going to make a deal because after beating OKC without Draymond and Kuminga, they feel like they're good enough to compete as currently constructed. What? Brandon Podziemski scored 20 points off the bench in Golden State's win over Utah. You gotta show them what they were missing. A win over Detroit moved the Cavs to 22-3 at home. I haven't seen anyone defend Cleveland this much since I was so fully convinced they were gonna win the 2017 finals. Anthony Davis passed Shaquille O'Neal for the most 40-20 games in NBA history. But instead of congratulating him, Shaq actually challenged AD to a game of Connect 4. Pelicans coach Willie Green was ejected from their loss to Toronto. Why was he ejected? Because why would you want to watch the Pelicans either? The Knicks beat the brakes off a Grizzlies team that came in riding the longest active winning streak in the West, and they were a top 3 team. Enjoy it, Knicks fans, before they barely beat a lowly team and you start calling them pretenders again. In a win over Orlando, Tyler Hero had 30 points, 12 assists, and 8 rebounds. Bam Adebayo had 26 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists. And Khalil Ware had 19 points and 10 rebounds. Anyway, did you see Jimmy Butler's latest Instagram post? It was so... Amen Thompson said he felt like Kobe after his game winner against Boston, which had Jason Tatum crying in the shower. Not sure how the Wolves win a wire-to-wire game in which Anthony Edwards shot 6 of 20, but I guess that's what happens when you play the decrepit remains of the Atlanta Hawks. Sometimes the game comes down to defense. Sometimes it comes down to star power. And sometimes no amount of Jokic magic can have Denver overcome the fact that Chicago just hit 18 more threes than them. I kid you not, I saw a post saying that Klay Thompson had 7 threes and 21 points in the first quarter, and before I saw any footage, knew any more about that game, I said to myself, jokingly, but also kind of not, wow, I bet this game against the Wizards. Yusuf Nurkic said he doesn't have a relationship with Suns head coach Mike Budenholzer. Oh, so it's like the same dynamic he has with rim protection and overall defense. Portland cut OKC's double-digit deficit to just 5 in the fourth quarter before the Thunder pulled away, saying, "You'll thank us come draft lottery time." Anthony Edwards reportedly sought the advice of Michael Jordan while dealing with all the frustrations of all the double teams and the defensive coverage. MJ's advice? Stop being a bitch. You'd think there'd be more hype surrounding the finals and rematch between Boston and Dallas on Saturday, but honestly, if I were the NBA, I would also be pretty embarrassed to remind people that was last year's finals matchup too. The Nets retired Vince Carter's number 15 jersey on Saturday. Too bad that all of the Nets fans who had any sort of emotional attachment to VC's tenure with the franchise were on the other side of the Hudson. Taj Gibson started at center in the year 2025, and I'm pretty sure Tom Thibodeau wanted to fly in for the momentous occasion. It's funny, the Knicks have really come a long way as a franchise, because it was like 10 years ago where I was just happy when Frank Ntilikina got 20 plus minutes. Now, Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns are named all-star starters, and I'm like, yeah, obviously, what took them so long to announce it? What's more deflating than a Cavs fan watching Amen Thompson drop a triple-double on them in the win? having the other Thompson brother on your fantasy team. The Raptors beat the Hawks, which is somehow both an NBA statement and also something I would love to put into like an AI movie generator. Tyrese Maxey and Kelly Oubre combined for 53 points in a win over Chicago. The duo Philly didn't know they needed, but definitely knows they don't want. The Lakers beat the Warriors on Saturday night, and afterwards LeBron and Steph embraced. They laughed, they cried, Steph asked for advice on how to pressure his front office into making moves. It was really a joyous occasion for all. Kyle Kuzma said, quote, "I think today I just decided to be myself and not really try to fit into everything that we're doing here. Just playing my game." Which apparently means that up until this point, he's been playing disciplined, unselfish, team-oriented basketball. It's so nice hearing how badly the Suns players wanted to get Nick Richards his 20th rebound, which is in stark comparison to the Wizards players who would kick each other in the groin if it meant giving themselves a triple-double. James Harden's 40 points and 9 assists were enough to outduel Giannis's 36 points and 13 rebounds in the Clippers' win over the Bucks. I guess skill beats out bronze once again. The Sixers beat the Cavs. The 2025 Sixers beat the 2025 Cavs in this universe? In a regulation game of basketball? You know, you'd think having 4 players score 20 plus points would be enough for the Pelicans to beat a Grizzlies team without Ja Morant. Granted, you would think a Grizzlies team without Ja Morant wouldn't be capable of putting up 139 points. You let Wemby return to the source of his powers in the Paris games? That's like letting Superman recharge in the Fortress of Solitude. Are you insane? In a win over the Heat, the league took away Damian Lillard's 10th rebound, which would have given him a triple-double. This would have been so much funnier if the game was actually in Miami, because then I could have made a really funny joke about how the Heat scorekeepers were like, "Take that, Lillard," because he didn't force his way there. Oh well. Domantas Sabonis had 23 points, 19 rebounds, and 8 assists in a loss to Denver. Oh, those numbers are adorable. I remember when Jokic was putting them up in his first MVP season. LeBron was selected to his 21st All-Star game this week. 21 All-Star appearances doesn't even sound real. It sounds as fake as every player who's ever come into training camp in the best shape of their life. Steph Curry was somewhat of a surprise selection to start in next month's All-Star game. And if you thought Anthony Edwards played with aggression before, oh, you just wait. Kawhi Leonard reached his minutes limit late in the third quarter and didn't play the rest of the way for a Clippers win, which is a luxury you can only afford when you play the Wizards. Adam Silver talked about potentially shortening the length of each quarter from 12 minutes down to 10, which totally solves the problem of starting games on time. Jalen Johnson was ruled out for the rest of Atlanta season after a shoulder injury. You call it bad luck. I remind you that Brittany Griner did just sign with the Atlanta Dream. That's all I'm saying. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.